Welcome back, everyone, to episode who knows at this point. I don't even know what day it is. Of Eat, Pray, Judge. I'm Sammy Hamarne, and as always is the co-host with the most.
Yeah,
The
I'm
left,
here too.
right, and left kid. Gabriel Pacheco.
Yep.
And joining us for his third tour of duty, the incomparable, former actor, current writer, political activist, Jordan Ryder. Welcome back.
Fill that seat. Fill that seat. Fucking jackasses.
I love that you're now
right
an
off the
activist.
bat. Jordan is doing it. Jordan, we should actually talk a little bit about that because that's before we get into the film.
I've actually, it's good news too, is I've gotten a few other people on the writing train, but basically I joined this Vote Forward campaign where you write handwritten letters to registered low propensity voters in different states. And the data shows that people receiving handwritten letters, hand addressed to them on the outside of the envelope and then actually addressed and written in your pen, people open them more, people read them more. And it's basically just saying, we've got a really important election and I hope you join me in voting. I have no idea if the letters will ever get to anywhere that they're supposed to, based on this total dismantling of the USPS's ability by our current moron in chief. And but that said, I've written 1,500 and done the envelopes too, which I know it sounds like, well, obviously you would do the envelopes when you write the letters, but I was writing the letters first, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm flying here. The envelopes take like 2 or 3 times as long to do because you have to keep checking everything. Whereas in my letters, I kind of got down to like a real basic message. You basically tell people why you vote. And so it got to be something that I could do fairly quickly. The envelopes take a while, but I'm at 1,500 right now. The mail date is October 17th. I've written to voters in Texas, in Florida, and in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep writing for the next few weeks as much as I can do, and then we mail them out on the 17th and hope people go out and vote.
That's so
Hey,
cool.
Jordan?
Well, how do you target the people that you're going to send these to?
So Vote Forward is an organization that has done this data collecting, and their goal is 10 million. And I think we're somewhere around 6.5 million right now. I could be wrong on that, but the fact is, if you can even get 1% of the people that are receiving these letters to actually open them, read them, and then have it affect their decision to go vote, you've got some folks going out there. And I think it's so important right now for all of us to just exercise our democratic voices.
Couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah.
You know
What a
what's even
fantastic
more
use of
wild?
your time, dude. I love it.
Thanks.
If you want to get people to really read the letter, is cut it up into jigsaw pieces, and then it really gamifies it.
Also, you could send care of Pornhub.
CEO. I could see Gabe as he like leaned back with his like funky shirt against his funky little like rug over the or blanket over the couch. Like I could see the wheels churning as to like how he was gonna amp this whole process up. Like I know how you guys could really
Like,
get.
how can
I'm
you
getting
make
serious.
this more of like a supervillain type way to get to rock the vote.
Right.
Like, what would Jim Carrey's Riddler do to get people to vote?
I thought when you were saying cut it up, I thought you were going to say like ransomize it, like put like each letter from like a different publication, make that how you send it.
Looks like Gabe's joining us from. It looks like Gabe's joining us from Ken Kesey's living room.
Yeah, this is my background for all professional Zooms as well. So I'm looking like I'm living my best life microdosing during our professional development and anti-sexual harassment training.
Yes, important.
Well,
1997.
we are here.
1997.
just to set the tone, we are reviewing Copland. So people don't get lost or confused. 1997's massive collabo, massive New York actor / A-list actor collaboration. James Mangold's Copland.
Yeah. 1997 was a watershed year for me. You know, Ellen came out as gay. Huge, big news. 2020, Ellen came out as mean.
Yeah.
I don't know which is a more groundbreaking discovery.
I think the mean, by far the mean.
Yeah.
I mean.
Mean means more than sexual preference.
Totally.
Another huge thing happening for me was everybody was on their Tamaguchis, little brother, little sister, feeding their little robot Tamaguchis. And I think that those were a psyop to get us, to prime us for the Tamaguchis that we all carry around now all day long, our smartphones that we can't wrest from our claws.
Yep. You come for the film, but you stay for the social commentary.
The first thing I thought of from 97 was Biggie's Life After Death came out. That was like a huge event for me. Biggie was my most influential hip hop artist, rapper of all time. It actually came out, I forgot this, 16 days after he died.
Yep.
In March of 97. Gas was $1.22 a gallon. Princess Diana was killed or died. I mean, a lot happened. Mother Teresa died. Hong Kong was returned to Chinese rule from the UK. 97.
A lot of stuff.
Big
Lipitor. Lipitor was released. Just making sure all those fatties could just keep munch on hog guilt-free.
Yeah, right.
It's cool. I'll just take this. Purell was launched. Purell had no idea that people would be mainlining it 23 years later.
Actually, if you drink, I did read this. If you drink it, it can actually cure coronavirus.
Can it?
Yeah.
Cool.
The president said something about this a little while ago, and I was like, no. But then I did it, and I was like, yes, man. Cleaning products and disinfectant, like injecting it and drinking it, it works, dude.
You know what I learned, though, from watching Trainspotting is that you absorb it faster into your bloodstream if you put it in a suppository.
Yep.
Right. That's true. Or pour it in your eye, like an open eye.
Mm-hmm.
So drinking Purell seems like a good idea. Smart leadership. I think I was outside trying to get struck by lightning because I thought that was also a cure.
I think it would be. I definitely think it would be.
I mean, how could it not work? If you're dead, you can't have coronavirus. Smart.
Yeah, it'll freak the crap out of it.
Sometimes you got to read. Sometimes people are so smart, you have to read between the lines. It's also best to be sarcastic when giving press conferences about deadly pandemics. That's a good use of sarcasm.
I can't believe he's using the sarcasm line right now.
There's nothing that I don't believe anymore.
That's true.
Let's just say that.
I can believe.
But yeah, 97 was quite a year. I think all of us graduated high school that year. Not to date anybody. We're 41. Yep. 41. So yeah, a pivotal year for all. Hip hop's dying breaths. Life After Death came out. Listen to that. Also, the Wu-Tang's album, double album.
Oh yeah,
left a crater-sized hole on Earth. Life-changing.
Yeah,
they bomb atomically.
Socrates' philosophies and high prophecy.
In case you were wondering.
Yeah, just for the uninitiated.
Gabe, what do you got? You got some other?
Oh, I was
nuggets?
we threw out so many details all at the same time. It was kind of like a shotgun blast of pop culture. I was thinking about Life After Death and how Biggie did Bone Thugs and Harmony better than Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Oh my God. Totally.
And he was just such a virtuoso on that album, which is why people consider him the greatest. Also a very body positive role model.
Yeah.
Hip hop.
Yeah. Yes.
And for thick boys.
Yeah.
carrying on the legacy, the Heavy D legacy.
Right.
Fat Boys, another plus-sized impresarios.
Big Pun came later.
That's right.
Yeah, like not even a year. The last days of the golden age of hip-hop. But this is a good segue because this film, Copland, is basically, I don't want to get negative on the film very quickly, but it's kind of like a collabo, like a hip-hop collabo with all your favorite artists. If they rapped it entirely over an accordion, solely an accordion.
So this was my first time seeing Copland. And like to piggyback on what you're saying about how this is like a sort of hip hop collabo, this Copland was basically a bunch of your favorite actors from The Wire and The Sopranos dressed as Met fans. And, and Sylvester Stallone slumbering along, giving people speeding tickets.
It felt like a really extended audition tape for like a reel for I Am Sam on Stallone's part.
This was my first time seeing it too. I'd never seen it.
Oh wow!
And I was shocked at how many really good actors were in it.
Incredible.
I mean, just really talented actors who've done projects like throughout their careers that I've looked at and been like totally moved by, sucked into. And then this turd, I mean, it was like, look, I get it. Let's capitalize on the whole Goodfellas vibe and like just do some like kind of like stacking of the roster and hope we can make a little money over there at Miramax, Mr. Weinstein. But what a like garbage piece of machismo this thing was. Like,
whoa!
I was like offended. Now I get it. It was also 97. We just went through like stuff that was going on. I think our opinions as a society weren't yet as out there and open. One thing I did like about it was that it was a movie before cell phones, which I always enjoy watching because I just feel like the cell phone thing kind of is like an easy, I don't know, it's like a crutch in a lot of films these days. And I like films before that, but yeah, I wrote a lot of negative things down about this, but I'll wait. I'll spare it. Yeah.
For anybody that hasn't seen it, this will just get like sort of will give us a skeleton to the meaty commentary on. So we have when Hothead. This is from the internet. When Hothead Superboy Michael Rappaport accidentally gets involved in an ugly, racially motivated incident, his uncle Ray Donlin, played by Harvey Keitel, a corrupt New York City cop, attempts to sweep it under the rug by helping fake his nephew's death. The bungled cover-up leads to investigations by idealistic internal affairs officer Mo Tilden, played by Robert De Niro, and Freddie Heflin, Sylvester Stallone, sheriff of the suburban New Jersey town where Donlin and his crooked policemen live. So the film's called Copland because there's this town, Garrison, New Jersey, filled with crooked cops.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right across the bridge from old NYC.
Mm-hmm. There's a law that New York City cops can't live outside of the state of New York.
That's a great law.
Yeah.
I always thought that they should live in the neighborhood they're policing.
Doesn't that make sense? Have a stake in what you're protecting.
Sure. They should all be like that guy in Gangs of New York. Like the Irish guy who just like hangs out in 5 Points and becomes sheriff.
Right.
Until Bill the Butcher throws an axe in his back.
But this does bring up. I mean, we could go on and talk about cops right now too. I mean, the whole culture of what being a police officer in this country is about, what we last several months and what many of our fellow citizens have been confronting all their lives for generations. I mean, I could not watch this without thinking about policing, just in general. The culture.
Like like the mafia for underachieving, less ballsy capitalists. That's basically what this police force was.
I mean, they're just so well. Yeah, in this film, there's just there's so much like weak just like fronting, just like, how tough can I stare? What kind of language can I use to intimidate? It's so lazy and weak. I don't know. I just felt like, oh God, like who's watching this and getting their cues about how to be a man from this? Like, it was just, ugh.
98% of Staten Island, I think.
Well, you know, I don't think this movie glorifies the police in any way, shape, or form. You know,
Agreed.
In the way that maybe someone might watch Goodfellas and go, I want to be in the mob. Right. I don't think that you watch this and go, I am so horny to be a Mets fan police officer.
No. I did enjoy the really large T-shirts that everybody was wearing back then.
Everything was a little oversized in the 90s.
Every shirt was huge on every, it made them also look like just careless and like schlubby. I mean, Ray Liotta with that button-down T-shirt kind of thing that's just like, it's like a robe. It was just, yeah.
That guy, he looks like what bad cocaine feels like.
Oh, God.
Basically, they were like, what kind of aesthetic do you want to go for your character? He's like, give me the last 30 minutes of Henry Hill and Goodfellas. That's exactly the aesthetic that I'm going for. Sweaty.
Yeah.
He, like, it takes me back to my younger day. I was like, ugh.
Glassy-eyed. Yeah.
Just
Ray
watching
Liotta,
him gave me diarrhea.
I have to say, like, in acting performances, Ray Liotta's probably my favorite performance in this movie. He plays coked out lizard the best, and I love him as an undercover cop, dressed like so, you know, because Sylvester Stallone put on weight for this movie, and I think Ray Liotta heard that and was like, I need to do that too, and they both became like milkshake boys, and it was really.
You know how he did it?
How?
Eating 3 oversized pancakes every morning at this diner in Jersey where they were filming.
Are you being serious?
100% serious. I dive deep, bro.
Yeah, maybe.
That was part of it.
Right.
And then this was like a film that he wanted to relaunch his career, and it didn't work.
Did he have any hand? Do you know if he had any hand in bringing this film to Weinstein or Mangold or anything?
No, actually, he was not even in the top considerations for it. Tom Hanks was up for it. Tom Cruise was up for it, and someone else. But, you know, actors you wouldn't necessarily think would fit the role. And to be quite honest, I thought he was a good Gary Sinise. It was actually written for Gary Sinise, who didn't want to do it. He must have read the whole script. I think he
must have read it.
I think I don't know. I had no issues with Stallone in this movie. It was a very muted character. I mean, not, you know, no pun intended, but it was. I didn't have an issue with him at all. I mean, I think Gabe. I'm in line with Gabe's thinking that I think Ray Liotta did a great job of the coked out lizard. But I mean, you know,
well, yeah,
the acting wasn't the issue here.
No, Ray. Everybody acted incredibly well in this. You know, and I wanted to kind of go through every character in a way, because I thought this was a great showcase for all of them. And if this movie disappointed, the reasons for me are that cops are unsympathetic. And so I don't care if all of them like died in a, you know, school bus fire together, chained to one another. That'd be totally fine with me. And then
Gabe hates cops. I mean, this through line has been present from the jump on the first one that I recorded with you guys.
Like, I feel like if you could hate the cop in Jaws, then you just really don't. There's no other lane.
What the fuck did he do to end up in this town? He killed some like little kid. He probably killed a minority kid in the Bronx and was like sent to Amityville.
Oh God. Oh God.
Well, this isn't like a sympathetic piece to cops.
Killing like endangered fish, just like blowing up majestic creatures in the ocean. Fuck that cop.
Fuck that cop, dude. Not even that cop. I personally found Janine Garofalo's character is the hero for me in this film, because she's the only one who actually like has a moral compass that she follows. Like, she's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Like when she says that, it was almost like it was the audience character being like, get the hell out of here. Like
lady cops are worse.
Oh, God.
Lady cops are worse because the police are basically like a force. They're basically like slave patrols and
Right.
an anti-feminist organization. And so if you're a woman that joins the cops, you're like a traitor to your sex.
Except I feel like that in all of these cases, women in general are reacting and responding to this male-dominated idea. So I have a tough time. I really believe that that's like at the core of a lot of this, like, you know, this performance that women are often forced into male-dominated worlds. And
that's right.
I mean, yeah.
They've got to, if they become president, they have to kill twice as many Yemenis at weddings with drones.
Yes, exactly. It's not fair.
So
I feel like anything we say about a cop for the next 10 minutes, Gabe is just going to kind of shit on. But I would like to talk about the characters.
Yeah.
Also, let's talk very quickly about the opening scene and why this movie is so stupid to me. That whole faked plot death of Superboy.
Yeah.
What a tremendously stupid and unnecessary overreaction. Because we all know the cops do racist shit all the time and they always mostly get away with it.
Right.
Unless there's a viral video, which there wasn't because it's 1997. So
Right.
There was no need for him to do any of that shit for Ray or Harvey Keitel, who I thought was just kind of like it's tough to say. I love Harvey Keitel typically, but I just his role was so nothing to me here.
Well,
I think when you're looking at acting, and go ahead, Gabe.
No. If you wanted to talk about the opening scene, like let's talk about that opening scene, right? With the very opening is Superboy, and you thought, did you think it was an overreaction? Him unloading?
Yeah, to have them fake his own death. Sure, I think that's always an overreaction.
I mean, we're even before that, the murdering of the two people on the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, entirely. I guess they needed a plot. So, like, okay, but like, so we get that he's drunk and he's coming from a strip club. So I guess he's like a little, amped or like wild or loose. But to pull your gun and just unload into a car,
but what led to him thinking that he thought he was under attack?
Yeah, the car lock, the wheel lock that the guy pulls on him. Right. So but they don't shoot anything. I mean, this is
his tire gets blown out, right?
His tire. Yeah, because we see when he leaves the strip club that he rolls over a broken glass. So now there's
that. He doesn't see that.
No, I know. I'm saying for the films for the film to move forward, the plot setup was all like, okay, we get it. But like the tire blowing to me didn't feel like he would have mistaken that for a shot. I don't know. Did you take that?
Well, he was drunk and stupid, I think, ultimately. So, and those are two separate things.
Yeah, he's dumb, we know, and then drunk on top of it with a gun at night alone.
That's the biggest problem, is that police have guns.
At all times.
Right. Like, why should he have a gun at the strip club? Cops shouldn't own guns. They should have to call in for somebody with a bazooka to show up if they need it.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone should have guns. I think guns are stupid and just killing machines, but okay.
Well, too late for all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now everyone's got them.
Sailed.
Now you can't even buy them anymore because they're in back order.
Yeah.
So my issue with this is I actually didn't see, and this is my second time seeing it. I saw it in 1997 when it came out. I missed the rollover of the bottle. My issue with this whole situation is that they got into a car after they spun out after the shots were fired. He didn't kill them shooting from his,
he clearly walked up.
Exactly. And that's
but they don't show that.
No, they don't show it for whatever reason. And that's another reason this movie was dumb. It's just like, they leave points that should be made up in the air for no reason.
Right.
Like that I have to assume that that's what happened, even though I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. Like he obviously walked in, there were 7 shots fired.
Right.
Again, like into them. Like he didn't kill them both. But I think I mean, maybe they made it out to be that he did shoot them from the side of his car, while he was driving, which is very unlikely for a drunk cop, for a drunk rookie cop.
They show him unload the first time while driving, smashing the back windshield.
Correct.
And after that, the two guys spin and like they're going to come back at him. And you don't assume that they could pull that maneuver dead. You assume that they're still alive. And then when they kind of show them when all the cops are there doing the cleanup, it looked almost like they were burnt too. Like, they looked totally, actually one of the cool things about this film was I thought the makeup and the setup of Monica after she's in the fire in the house and the gunshot impacts at the end where the blood's spurting out. I thought those were pretty well done, in terms of makeup.
To go back to this initial scene, when they pulled the tire iron off the guy, it was stuck to his hand. So how long had they been there before the cops actually showed up for it to, latch onto the blood stuck to his hand? But that was, that's a little logistical thing that I thought was silly. But yeah, so I guess the bottom line, Gabe, is I think it was a bit of an overreaction across the board. That whole scene.
Yeah, the takeaway I got was that his understanding of being ambushed by those two guys in the car, was understandable from his point of view. The biggest problem was the character of Michael Superboy's lack of professionalism, which is systemic of the police.
I think that happens all the
time, and that they're allowed to drive around drunk, and the only tool they have in any situation is the hammer.
Right.
The only tool they have is the gun. So within that context, that those two guys with the driving with the wheel lock is the same as somebody pulling out a wallet and then thinking it's a gun.
Right.
Everything to them is somebody pulling out a gun.
Right, and they're taught to shoot first, back, don't die, which is not the way police are taught in a lot of places in the world. It's but a lot of places in the world don't have guns like America, so you're in a cycle that
is the systemic problem,
right?
Is that it's all fear based,
right? Exactly.
Both sides are afraid. So
yeah, my favorite part of that scene, by the way, is the EMT guy going right after Robert Patrick and being like, "Fuck you, dude!" I am there's no way that guy, and then taking the gun and throwing it over the bridge. I loved him taking them on that. This
movie gave me an interesting point to bring him out, because he is a well-known stage and theater actor from New York, and he was in King of New York. And this movie gave me King of New York vibes based on the fact that it was this, minus obviously the more famous guys, but they're all New York-based actors. But he was the right-hand man, or I don't know what to call him. He was the consigliere to Frank White in King of New York, who ends up turning on him. But a cool actor. And he was fed up. That was a classic plant, and he did not enjoy that.
No.
I just like that all civil servants hate cops as well. So if you're a fireman or you're EMT or you're a public school teacher, it's I guess we're all working for the city, but you guys are still on your own.
Yeah.
And cops hate lawyers, so it's it's a sweet little system we've got. Super productive.
So you brought up Harvey Keitel after this. He's another interesting character in this movie. And I thought of him as you guys remember Unforgiven? The
Clint Eastwood movie?
Clint Eastwood movie.
Didn't see. Never saw it.
Really?
He reminded me of Little Bill from that. Sort of this Little Bill in Unforgiven is the sheriff of the town in that film. And at first you think, well, this is a good guy because he keeps law and order. in his small, sleepy little town and keeps out the desperados. And before we find out like what Harvey's original sin is, what that character's sin is, it's like, what is the problem with trying to create a cop town?
Right.
You know?
I mean, yeah, I think the setup is the cops. What is it? The cops are under attack in New York City, essentially. Like, so in order to like create a safe haven for them and their families, Keitel instigates this move to garrison across the bridge. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's it still feels a little contrived just because of like, I don't know, you're a cop, dude. Like your job is to like, you know, get to be in the community and know that. I mean, I don't know. It just feels so counterintuitive to me to like, yeah, up and leave. But, you know, okay, they needed the plot. So
it feels like a metaphor to me about white flight in general, or
sure.
communities, or any, you know, any time where one group of society decides to separate itself to create a nice, clean, safe haven for their families. You know,
very, very much. That's well said, Gabe.
This just felt like a metaphor for gated communities, and anytime
you
separate one component of society and have them feel like they can have their own enclave, it's worse for everyone else.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically reinforcing the idea that we can't do it together. Like this, we got no shot at being together and making that work. So we gotta isolate, which is sad. It is to me.
Yeah. So this town is unethical, and what we find out on that fundamental level, but then we find out why this town even exists, which is that Harvey Keitel made a deal with some drug trafficking mobsters, and they got him low interest rate mortgage loans. How banal.
Totally.
Hey, you want a low interest rate mortgage loan so that they could all buy houses with above ground pools?
Right. It's like, it's not even, yeah.
Fort Lee, New Jersey.
You're right. You're kind of, that. I'm glad you brought that up because that kind of washed over me in like, or went by me while I was, you know, inside just critiquing this like pastiche of 90s machismo. But yeah, the whole plot setup that like it's so boring. It's like, oh, okay, so you did the thing that everybody else does, but just with like a pretty good interest rate. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. And also, what if the government subsidized housing for all civil servants?
I love that.
You know?
Yeah.
Universal housing. Yeah. Then you wouldn't have the corruption of Paulie Walnuts, who is the mobster who gave all the low interest rates.
Toy Torillo. Is that like Toy? His first name's Toy. I love that.
It's in picture only. They never used the actor. They just used a photo of him. But
I bet you he shot a couple scenes and then they cut it.
Yeah, everyone was paid at scale for this movie, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Really?
The budget was only $13 million. So this was somebody's passion project.
Harvey fucking Weinstein.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to be in this movie though? Like I would want to be in this movie.
I thought about
everybody in it. It's got like having De Niro and Keitel is like the Mean Streets boys. And you brought up Goodfellas earlier, and this feels like a mirror of Goodfellas, where someone pitched this and said it's Goodfellas but with cops.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I was thinking about that while watching what the set must have been like, and it must have been a lot of fun for a lot of these actors. Edie Falco's in there for a few scenes.
Amazing.
I love her. You know, there's a lot of really talented actors in this. What's his face?
Artie Bucco.
He is in this. He's in the strip club.
What's that?
Artie Bucco from Sopranos is in the strip club.
Yeah, the chef. He's in a couple of scenes, I think.
Yeah. And Kathy Moriarty, who I was like in love with in Raging Bull. Yeah, I fell in love with Kathy Moriarty in Raging Bull, and it was nice to see her in here too.
Little reunion, Raging Bull reunion.
Totally.
So, Gabe, you said that you thought Ray Liotta was the best acting job in the movie, correct?
Well, I liked him. I liked the character. I liked everything he had to say. One aspect of Ray was he's like Mr. Miyagi on coke, or he is the sensei of this movie. He's the Yoda. He's like the old, wise, maybe made bad decisions mentor for Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, flawed.
I was just going to say, to me, and what I think registered maybe with you in that observation, he had the strongest point of view and committed to those points of view in almost every scene. And he played it for keeps. And so I get why his performance would be the most compelling of all of them. Even though I did find Stallone's, sort of beneath the surface depression, a life unlived, very watchable. I was into Stallone when he was on camera, trying to figure out what was going through him in each moment. Liotta really just, without any sort of self-consciousness, I felt Liotta was like 100% in on his character.
Yeah, and he also had sort of the words of wisdom that encapsulated the film for me. One of them was his, there's pinball people and there's video game people.
Yeah.
And the other one was, you got to go diagonal. You got to jag. You see
diagonal.
Fight, you turn right. You don't fight. Teaching you to be shifty.
Right. Yeah. I didn't get it. I thought that was one of the places where I felt like, okay, the writing, because Mangold wrote and directed this. Sorry, did I freeze? Oh, no. Okay.
No, you're good.
And I like that bit of creation about the diagonal as the sort of the touchstone for how to go after those in power as opposed to trying to take them on head on.
Well, he had the insider's view. So he kind of served as a narrative for the film. I mean, without his character, the film would have been completely one note and silly. De Niro, to me, was probably like the most solid acting job I saw in this film. And I'll say it for one reason, is because when he's understated, and he usually is, that guy disappears in the characters almost more than any other act. Like, you don't even realize that he's acting. Like, you don't, when you see him on screen, and it's something that I've noticed. It's something my dad told me years, like when I was a kid, when we used to watch Robert De Niro movies. He was like, the reason people like him are great is because you don't actually think, you're not, they're acting, but you don't see it and you never feel it from them. And
that's
it's obviously like, right. But I mean, many people can't do that.
It's incredibly
Liotta is there's lots of talented actors, but
true.
People know they're acting. De Niro is almost like a shapeshifter in a way. And it was sort of, and this is not to bring it up, but like, when he's in understated roles, he really disappears even further when he's like a secondary or, a supporting character.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Conway in Goodfellas is an example of that. Also in Backdraft, this role reminded me of his Backdraft role a whole bunch.
That's what I was going to say. Backdraft.
Yep. And he's just really good at that. And it's something I've been conscious of. Like when I watched, and even though he was the narrative for like The Irishman, which I thought he was like his role, like he just disappears seamlessly into character, which, obviously everyone knows he's a great actor, but like, I think he's not underappreciated, but people don't pay attention to why. It's just, they're like, oh, he was in Goodfellas, he's an awesome actor. It's like, right. Like Al Pacino, Scarface. Those guys, like Al Pacino, you always know that he's acting, even when he's...
Robert De Niro, I'd say just Jackie Brown came out around the exact same time, and this is a really good to compare and contrast, like his ability to play two completely different characters. One in Jackie Brown, where he's like this damaged, dumb ex-con, and that damage. Honestly, I would compare to like how Sylvester Stallone is playing this sheriff, and in this film, De Niro as Mo Tilden is just I wrote down here his acting choice in this film is I'm a rude, loud fuck. Like he is the most rude, amazing internal affairs detective.
Right.
He doesn't say a lot, and everything he says is in very clear language, but it's the tone. It's like he's just telling people, hey, this case is over. But he's like, go to lunch. Go to lunch.
Yeah.
And
he has the line that was perfectly delivered.
Yeah, or like the other one is when Sylvester Stallone comes to him and he refuses to stop eating his sandwich and make eye contact. He just keeps eating the sandwich. And then he's like, "You blew it. That was 2 weeks ago. You blew it."
He goes, "I gave you a chance, you deaf fuck," and then he just keeps eating his turkey on rye or whatever that was. But that's what I love about it. I mean, if you think about it, he had like 12 lines in the whole movie. But I like every time he got on screen, I loved it.
I thought his best moment was actually when he comes into the convenience store next to Four Aces and first reunites with Keitel.
Completely agree. Love that scene.
Just it gives you, it set up the relationship between them really well, right off the bat without having to like show too much. It just was revealed, which I always appreciate.
Yeah. Also, his little line when he walks out, he's like has this smirk, which I thought was great. And then have a good one is how he leaves with like a smile on his face. Like immediately as soon as they see him, they know why he's there. I mean, he's internal affairs. He's not in Garrison, New Jersey by accident.
Any other characters jump out at you? Any other performances that really sing to you? Aside from Sylvester, which I think we could spend quite a while on.
I liked Robert Patrick's character. Yeah. I think he did a good job of being crazy and sort of, evil. Yeah. The guys there.
My problem with this whole film in general, because yes, I can point to actors who did their characters, well, based on the writing and the setup and the plot. But my problem with this whole film is that, like, it's very unexamined. It's just sort of like, well, this is who we are, and we're going to do these things in reaction to whatever comes up without, like, there's very little vulnerability exposed, or very little examination of what's behind these people's motivations. I mean, Stallone, you get the bits about what he did as a kid and how he lost his hearing and how he could never get on the force, and that's why he's depressed and he just wants to be a good cop, and I get that, but like other than that, I didn't feel like there was any like compelling examination about why any of these people were behaving the way they were and in the situations that they were. And so therefore, other than, honestly, I brought it up before, but Garofalo basically like, when she pulls over the guys in the first time that we really meet her, she's like, yeah, I'm new, but I'm new here, but I'm not new on the force. And she stands up for herself. And then at the end, she's like, I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving. And I felt like that actually was a bit of like the most examination of a character onto their situation in this world.
Yeah, I agree. I think to me, this movie, which at an hour and 40 minutes for this type of film seemed incredibly short. So who knows what ended up out. But all the characters were, with the exception of Sylvester Stallone, were extremely one-dimensional. Yeah. There's nothing to any of them. Right. This guy's bad. This guy's good. This guy's slightly conflicted, but good. He got deaf, saving the girl from a car. It's like such a thin story.
Yep.
And with this cast and with what could be like an interesting story, there could be a lot more to it. They seem that a lot of good stuff might have gotten cut. Or maybe James Mangold just isn't a very good writer. I think that's kind of what I'm getting from most of this, in all honesty.
This could have been a great miniseries. I want to see the corruption and downfall of like Harvey Keitel, right? When Mo Tilden talks about how they were in the academy together, and he said he used to be a beauty. He used to be a real collar man.
Yeah.
That maybe he started off as a Serpico.
He did.
And something happened where he wanted to protect his tribe.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, they give you a backstory, but it's kind of just again, one note, one dimensional. There's nothing. Maybe it's a sequel to Bad Lieutenant.
I thought about Bad Lieutenant. You have to think about Bad Lieutenant, especially when he gets when he lets what's his nuts fall from the roof after Method Man attack.
Peter Berg.
That whole scene just sort of came out of nowhere. It was like there was no setup for why Method Man was up there and the other cop was already beaten up and what
shot.
Yeah. And then Meth says some stuff while he's like got the guy under the neck, and I couldn't really even figure out what the thing was.
It almost seemed like sexual tension.
Yeah. And then but Keitel, after he sees what's going on, closes the door, then has to pick the lock, but the guy's behind him. Patrick's like, why not just bust through, and then he finally opens the door and they get to the top, and Keitel leans over, and at that moment I was like, oh yeah, Bad Lieutenant.
I found this movie to be racist.
Sure.
Outside of the racism of the police, which is implied, but the way that it portrayed all people of color outside of the cops, that Method Man character is like a super predator character, right? This like superhumanly strong black man who's able to take out two cops, kind of within this world justifies the existence of police like that.
Yeah, with one like glass eye too.
Well said.
Even scarier.
Monstrous.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Those two kids at the beginning, those teens who get shot by Rappaport, it's like their death is not justified, but you can see the anger, you can see why within that world that they're still a menace. Like they're willing to destroy private property, and their jokes are threatening and menacing. So I think that's a problem I have with this film, is still that it portrays the universe they live in as like justifying them, because it's like the world's a threat.
Well, I mean, they mentioned a couple of different times during the film that we don't get certain people here, if you know what I mean. It's like this weird dog whistling. We're like, yeah, we know what you mean. Like, there's no point in saying that like you're avoiding people of color. That's why you moved to Garrison, New Jersey. Like, we get it, man. Like, thanks.
Yeah. There's that one. Go ahead, Sammy.
We already think you're racist because you're cops, so it doesn't really matter. Like, what your rationale for moving to the suburbs is for an above ground pool, but. Right.
Yeah, there's that one moment where Stallone comes up on his partner who's pulled over the black couple, and then they roll by after Stallone has his flashback, and they say, we were trying to enjoy the view, and this is harassment or something. But then it's like Stallone just kind of is like, nah.
He's like staring out the window the other direction.
Like,
But, that also justifies, like, it minimizes racism. That scene minimizes racism because we see Stallone as a hero, and he's being attacked unjustly for his partner's behavior. And so you can watch this movie as a white person and be like, look at, like, this couple is making everything about race.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So that is a problem I have with this film too. Is like,
it's so revealing.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was a racially positive film at all.
Because you can have racist characters in a movie and still have it be a film that is progressive in its commentary on race. And this one,
I think not. I think you almost, if you are going to have any kind of commentary on race, I think it behooves you in our society to reveal racist characters. because that's how you address it. That's how you would have to frame it to some degree in order to be kind of fair and real. So yeah, it was like, again, I keep coming back. There was just something lazy about this film, like
Rushed.
sort of like, yeah, well, it'll be fine because we've got all these people, and it's tough man things.
Where I think, Jordan, where the laziest part to me is that the film is an indictment of corrupt cops, but not an indictment of cops. You know, like, as though this small enclave is the exception to the rule when no police officers live in New York City. You know, when we look at New York City's police department, the union is run by Pat Lynch, and that guy is a white man who has given our police union in this city is now supporting Donald Trump. Sure. You know, the police officers in the city turn their back on the mayor. You know, they run rampant on their own. So the whole force is Copland. It's not just like a couple bad apples.
No, the bad apples thing is, yeah. I really was hoping that the public outrage over the last few months was gonna, and it still may. I mean, I'm not saying that it's over it by any means. I think it's our job to keep it, to stay furious and to stay outraged. But like, to hear Biden talk about bad apples.
Well, that's what you get when you pull up a moderate. So I think ultimately, sort of a different spin on that is, I think any bad press for cops is good press. So I think that, like, whenever you shine the light on the police corruption in any way, whether, you know, like a beautifully done film like Serpico is like a scathing indictment of what it was like in the 70s in New York. But I also think this is kind of showing you that these guys are, you know, people that are in charge of you aren't good always. Mostly, right. You know, like, it's just not like a good, you know, it's a crazy system to put underqualified or just human beings with that much power and almost no responsibility in charge of anybody else. So I think that, like, I don't blame the film for it. Certainly doesn't paint cops in a good picture, in my opinion. So I think whenever that happens, that's a good thing, because it just raises an awareness, period. My issues with it fundamentally as a film is that it seemed rushed and pointless.
Yeah. I wrote one thing that I wrote right after I saw it was, I thought it was going to be pointless and stupid because of the cliche of the cop drama, but it was meaningful and stupid because of the cliche of the cop drama. Like, I mean, I think it showed it helped to, like, really kind of show us a little bit of what we as a society, especially in like the white male category, like, fetishize about, like, power and cops and guns and toughness. And that was like sort of my big meta takeaway.
It was like, when I think about the ending of the film, what really happens? 4 suburban dads who happen to be racist, crooked cops get gunned down in front of a house. And it really doesn't change the world at all. Then Superboy gets taken back to police headquarters, you know, down by City Hall, where really, you know, it's like his incarceration or being brought to justice for this doesn't matter ultimately.
No.
And our Sheriff Stallone is now 75% deaf instead of 50% deaf.
Oh, see, that's interesting, because I don't see it as him being I don't see it as him being turned in to be prosecuted for a crime when Rappaport gets taken back to City Hall. I think that's him spilling the beans to IA about the entire
ring
network. Yeah, the entire ring. Like, what the story is. I don't think nothing's gonna happen to him. We already know that.
That's what I took it as like, because even when they play the news clips kind of over each other at the end, it was like, so and so, turned state's evidence and revealed a whole, syndicate or something, and
a network
it
of
had nothing to do. Yeah, they didn't. I don't think they talked about him being charged in the death of two young black men on the bridge.
Not even slightly. I mean, I think one way. I mean, like if that's the point that they wanted to make, that he was going to be prosecuted, they would have had him, made it, done a better job of, implying that, like, having him in handcuffs. Instead, they're all hugging and bloody, walking down the road. Like, no, it's
okay. It's okay.
Everything's okay.
Yeah.
Like, the stakes feel so small. Like, this world is so small. And what I meant about it ending with any sort of redemption is, like, if a further indictment of the system would be important, because at the end, Toy Torillo maybe gets indicted and can't traffic drugs anymore, but the war on drugs continues. And those 4 cops who were killed, will be replaced by 4 new dirty cops.
Yep. This doesn't take down the problem in any way. It's just sort of like, well, this happened.
Some people got shot. I think it does kind of just automatically imply that cops are racist for the most part, which I thought was, not wrong.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what. That's all the good I could take away from this. I mean, I think ultimately what this seemed like to me was that they were just basically. The budget was $13 million. Nobody really got paid. So I think this was like a cash cow for Weinstein. He thought that he would just put all these actors in like a rushed job of a film and then just turn it like it would be this massive success.
Right.
Like what they thought Sleepers was going to be. The people were going to see Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro. Boop, psych, it's a movie about fucking kid rape and pedophilia in the Catholic Church. It's like, but this was just like it was such a poorly marketed, delivered, executed mess.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that in 1997 I was listening to Biggie more than I was watching Copland.
That is a fantastic take.
Yeah. Look, man, I mean, I'm going to say Sylvester Stallone was great in this. I liked him.
Sure.
I thought, I'm not a huge fan of his action movies from the 80s, and this was at a point in his career when he was definitely on the ropes in terms of his career. He was like, well, what can I do to change it up? And like, we've looked at actors before, like Tom Cruise. We've looked at these like superstar actors, and sometimes your success is your prison because it's impossible to do a smaller ensemble film when your price tag is so high. And so to have Stallone be part of this ensemble and then kind of play against type, to go back to like his Rocky underdog, hangdog face, sad persona was like, I'd rather watch that 100 times over like his what are the new films that he makes?
Rambo.
Yeah, Rambo, or like the
Expendable. No, not the Expendables.
That's right.
Yes,
Expendables.
Yeah, like I never want to watch the Expendables midlife crisis, like human growth hormone, Botox boys.
The Botox too. My brother walked through while I was watching this, and
so much.
And he was like, "Oh man, I missed the kind of cute, like lovely, busted, real face of old Sylvester Stallone. Now with all this like yanking and pulling that's happened to all of that, it's ugh."
So is this the case of an artist like Sylvester Stallone who wrote and wrote Rocky?
Yeah.
Which was an amazing film, and he does good playing sort of a slower guy, and then ends up cashing in artistic integrity for millions and millions of box office dollars, smash hits, global fame. At that point, in the 80s, he was probably one of the 3 biggest box office stars on the planet.
Sure.
And then now he does have acting chops, and he does want to reshift his career because it sucks to get typecast, but it's literally almost impossible. And You know, it's like, well, how can you even if he does have acting? And again, like we all agree that he was we all agree that the flaw was not the acting here in general. I mean, him specifically, but none of the actors were at fault for this film being bad.
Agreed.
So is it the case of just being able to not shed stereotypes, which is impossible? I mean, even if they all took a pay cut, but again, I'm sticking to my point that I think Harvey Weinstein thought he could cast all these people for cheap because it was a cool sort of New York art house piece, and, you know, have it go, you know, released nationally for millions and millions of dollars. It didn't do well critically or financially. I mean, it made a profit, but how could it not? You know what I mean?
Right. With those names.
People love Sylvester's performance in this. I mean, he got awards for this, but he says that it hurt his career anyway. Because it didn't.
Yeah. Because it didn't make money, is that what you said? Yeah. I mean, you think that's really, that's got to be it, right? Because there's no other reason like it could actually hurt him, you know?
Well, it was bad. I mean, it was a bad movie. It was, you know, and sometimes actors, movie stars, who, I mean, every actor will tell you that they're never secure because the next month could be the end or, you know, of the career or something. So there's always anxiety about, am I going to still have a job after this or next time or tomorrow or whatever?
Yeah.
And, you know, good actors can sometimes raise the level of a film. Very rarely, though. It's usually the opposite, that good actors get sort of brought down by a bad film. And this was a bad film. And he did what he tried.
This was his attempt at Pulp Fiction that just missed the mark. This was his, you know,
you mean the Travolta kind of turnaround?
His 94 Travolta turnaround that he was hoping for in a small indie budget, small budgeted, you know,
who I
bloody
think
crime-ish drama, you know?
Yeah, you know who I think did a really good version of that in their career was Alec Baldwin with Outside Providence. Outside Providence is the first time I remember Alec Baldwin playing that kind of like, you know, fast-talking, don't give a fuck older guy after he had been like a hunk leading man throughout all of his career leading up to that in movies.
I think he was limited by his physical changes ultimately more than anything because he morphed, not like into a bad-looking human being, but just a very different aesthetic. Overall.
A little rounder.
I see what you're saying, absolutely, right. But that's also like not playing that kind of dad isn't the biggest stretch for a kid from a guy from Long Island doing like an older. But I think.
No, but based on the previous part of his career, you know, that
like Miami Blues and shit.
Yeah, that turn. I mean, even in Beetlejuice, he's like a handsome suburbanite who's like just trying to, you know.
He just got old fast in the face.
He got old fast.
That's kind of what happened to him because you see young Alec Baldwin and then you see him even 10 years later. Now it's like he turned into a Kennedy. He turned into Ted Kennedy, basically.
He's great at Trump because of that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he's also a very, insanely talented character actor.
Yes, he is.
Which is cool because that's not what you saw of him from the beginning. Like you didn't see the actual acting talent; you just saw the looks, and then it turns out that he's like an incredibly talented comedic actor as well as just like a good character actor. I mean,
right.
And that last scene kind of reminded me of another Alec Baldwin movie, like The Departed. It was like kind of disappointing in that it's like all this like this weird shootout at the end. That's like, the climax. It's sort of anticlimactic. It's they're all dead. They're like shock value.
I fucking hate The Departed. I think.
No, I know we've talked about that. You hate The Departed like Gabe hates Hook.
Ugh. Yeah, Hook is the worst, and the best part of The Departed is when Martin Sheen gets thrown off the roof and splats like a watermelon.
Oh man!
Like when Gallagher smashes the watermelon. Like, oh, perfect. Thank you.
You've got a Gallagher thing going on right now, Gabe. Like
I'm feeling my inner Gallagher right now.
Yeah, I'll send you some watermelons and a sledgehammer.
And a striped shirt, didn't you? And didn't you wear like a beret and a striped shirt sometimes too?
Yeah, he was like a pseudo violent hippie.
Yeah,
he hated fruit, man.
That guy hated fruit.
I think one of his jokes was like, why do you park on a driveway and drive on a parkway? And his little kid,
Yeah.
ooh, that tickles my brain.
Gritty
Yeah, I
social.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what can be said. I'd love to hear some final takes on this one.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, well, I'll get started.
Go.
This movie, you can watch clips of it if you want to see some amazing Robert De Niro performances as a sort of a secondary character. Also, Ray Liotta is amazing in it. The what I'm taking from this is sometimes you got to go diagonally. You got to jag. The shootout at the end with Stallone as sort of like a lumbering killing machine was my favorite part of the film. I love seeing a young Janine Garofalo in this, and yeah. Other than that, it's kind of forgettable. Although I would have watched it as a series, like they could have remade The Sopranos and had it been about like racist Italian American police officers living in New Jersey, and it would have been a mirror to The Sopranos. So I'm going to give this movie 5 aces at the 4 Aces bar in Garrison, New Jersey.
I'll go next. I thought this movie sucked. I'm this is my 3rd time on this wonderful, wonderful podcast that you two run, and I'm glad that I got to watch a movie that I really thought sucked, because the last 2 times I watched movies that I actually really enjoyed and had found a lot from. And I like Eat, Pray. I like the judge part of this one for me, because I really like judged the shit out of it. And yeah, I mean, I guess I could say that, right, we've talked about some positive parts, like things that I enjoyed, like for watching just for a few moments, but overall, a waste of time, a failure on the part of Harvey Weinstein and Mangold. And I would give it a 2.7 offsuit. This is just throw it away, fold it, like get out of the hands. Janine Garofalo sums it up at the end. I got to get out of here. I can't do this. Like, that's how I felt about watching this movie. Like, get me out of here.
There you go. I mean, this is, as far as final thoughts on my end, I feel like I've been giving final thoughts for the past 30 minutes and sort of like kind of giving a summary of what I thought about this movie. And I mean, ultimately, it just like I said earlier, by the way, Gabe, that idea you have of the cop version of Sopranos is could be $1 million idea. So that's just something to think about. I would watch the hell out of that show if someone were to make it. You have to write it first, but it would be outstanding. So I think ultimately, like it's just a flat movie that felt very rushed. I think it would have been a much better film with a much better writer, or in a different format completely, like Gabe said, like a series. It needed more character development. You can't rush that sort of storyline. There's too much there's too much you want to know about these characters and the backstory that you just get in like little police clippings and a weird sort of in and out narrator they used once or twice at the very beginning, at the very end, which was silly. It's just rushed job across the board. I would give it I mean, I'll stick with the poker analogy here. I'll give it pocket aces, and you lose to a straight on the turn. So you have like a good idea, and then just a unfortunate outcome. So watch it for the acting. If you want to. I don't really care. It's really up to you on this one. I feel like I'm pleading the fifth. Like, I cannot endorse this message, in any way. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's a take it or leave it, and I'm not taking it. I do love that we had a bad one, or like one that we all agree. It's fun. It's contention is great for ratings. Just ask our idiot president.
Yeah, man. Ugh.
Yeah, this was more judge than anything else. This episode,
great
judge, and I tried.
It's nice. Oh no, I mean, look. I think in all honesty, I think we were diplomatic enough to defend something. Like, we did the same thing with Basic Instinct. It's a shit movie. You know, like, you can't be diplomatic all the time. It's like, when something's, it should have, I mean, I don't think my expectations were particularly high. The fact that I saw it in 97 and barely remember it, and with that cast and not even liking it, you know, is a pretty good barometer for how I would feel about it on the comeback. And it's even dumber now because my brain is better. So.
Yeah. I mean, part of this exercise too, which I enjoy doing with you guys, is like going back in time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the context of like watching something that was made during a time in the world and in our country when we're talking about American films and stuff, and then looking at it from what we've gained to now and using that hindsight to judge pieces of art or work is fascinating. I love it. And I would probably say, I think most movies aren't very good. I think it's hard to do. I think sometimes it's lucky as hell. But I think most movies, there's so many movies that have been made. There's so many. And most of them suck or just are just tried something and it didn't work.
Jordan, I can't wait to have you on where we review the Matthew Broderick Godzilla.
Oh, yes. Was Jack Black in that?
He might be.
Yeah, and or is that King Kong? I don't know. I get those two.
He was definitely in King Kong.
Okay, sure. All right, maybe that was it.
Skull Island.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, that's good. I think we're doing a service by not liking everything we do. You know, it's great to, and you know, we've dug deep the past couple. I mean, Jaws isn't a deep dig, but LA Story sure was, and we gave them that. So now we have to level the playing field. By making a Copland episode. And this was my pick. I guess the first one I picked in a little bit. So I felt I love, I mean, Gabe knows it. I love contention. I think it makes for good TV. So it's great. And it's not that all cops are bad, but I think ACAB should stand for all cops are bullshit. It's a bullshit job. Stop complaining. You chose it.
Yeah, dude.
Stop acting afraid.
I mean, these are like 50-year-old men acting like they're boys in a club. Like
exactly.
That's all it is. It's a fucking treehouse. It's a padded treehouse.
It's Arrested Development where you get to, but you're basically like a Klan member.
Yeah.
You know,
you're a bully.
Boy and a Klan member forever. Awesome.
You're a licensed
bully. Yeah.
Bingo. Boys Club. Bullshit Boys Club.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for listening in to Eat, Pray, Judge. Back with another game. You want to plug Funhouse?
Yeah, come listen to and watch stand-up comedy every Wednesday night at 9:30 on Zoom with Funhouse Comedy. And you can follow all of my exploits on Instagram at GabePac1, GABEPAC1.
Awesome. And Jordan, bang out the voting thing real quick for us again. If you
want to get involved, it's voteforward.org. And you handwrite some letters and you try to get people to show up to the polls. We've all been hearing about what's at stake. I think if you don't feel like a lot is at stake at this point, then you're deliberately ignoring your civic responsibility. So
bingo. Bottom line, vote. Also check us out at eatprayjudge.com and on Facebook, or at eatprayjudge on Instagram. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.